He's Frank Isola, the Net Studio host, and you can see him on Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption, also Sirius XM NBA Radio. Frank, thanks for joining us. I'm going to make you the commissioner. What do you want to do, and what will you do with the owner and Joker in that little incident last night?
Technical foul on Matt Ishbia for flopping, who looks like a young Tom Izzo. I think he could play Tom Izzo, like a 35-year-old Tom Izzo, if they ever have a movie about Tom Izzo. So he looks like his former coach.
Right.
You know what? I would not be shocked if he gets suspended. I hope that he doesn't. I think the fact that Jokic went to grab for the ball first, Ishbia pulled it away, then Ishbia first touched Jokic, and Jokic is a big guy, just kind of put his arms up. There was no swinging involved. I hope that's not the case. It's interesting. I was watching last night, and when Monty Williams came on after the game, I was wondering if Monty was going to go down the Pat Riley route or Phil Jackson. Of course, Monty's first NBA coach was Pat Riley, and said something along the lines of, we can't have this in our sport. We have to protect the fans at all costs. I understand Nikola Jokic is a great player, but this is something the league has to look into. To Monty's credit, he just said, I didn't really see what happened.
Well, I wonder if there's enough there that the commissioner would suspend Joker. If this is regular season as opposed to now, would it be a different ruling for this? And if it was a true fan here, because I think the Joker doesn't know that that's the owner of the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah. A couple of things. It was in Phoenix with the Clippers in the first round where Russell Westbrook kind of cuts through. They cut through a shortcut, and there was a fan. A knucklehead yelled at Westbrook. He confronted the fan, cursing, threatening the guy. He's got his kid right there. There was no suspension there. I also wonder, Dan, the fact that it isn't just a regular fan. Maybe in this case it would help Jokic out, because why is Matt Ishbia taking the ball and ripping it away from Jokic to begin? I don't really think Matt Ishbia shouldn't have done that. I don't think it's a crime against humanity that he did it. To me, Jokic is still mostly in the wrong. But I thought the tone of it last night, I guess they're going to interview Jokic about it. I ultimately think he'll be available for Game 5. Let's hope that's the case, because you look at that game last night, those three guys, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Nikola Jokic, I mean, they're just at a different level offensively.
And how do you punish an owner?
Well, he did replace a guy that they essentially got rid of. I mean, I know he stepped down on his own, so I guess you can do it. But here's the thing, Dan, and you know this, and you've talked to him a million times. What if that were Mark Cuban, who Jokic had pushed, and now the series is tied at 2-2? I would think now Matt Ishbia may say something publicly, but I think he'd be well within his right to call up the league and say, hang on a second, I paid $4 billion for this team. You're gonna have a player treatment like that. He should not be available for Game 5 in this series. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. That's for sure.
See, I hold the owner more accountable than I do Joker.
In terms of?
I thought that Matt Ishbia, escalated this. He held the ball, he flopped, he got back up, and then he leans into Jokic.
Yeah. No, I think ultimately the league will look at it that way. And Jokic, I thought his comments were pretty smart after the game. I think Michael Malone as well. I thought there was a chance that when the game ended, now I understand Jokic is upset with the way that his team played down the stretch. Hey, he had the big turnover. I was wondering if he was going to make a beeline for Matt Ishbia and just kind of shake his hand. And I wondered if that would have diffused it even more.
Wow.
Again, you want to see all these guys out there, and they did set a bit of a precedent. So Draymond Green gets suspended for stomping on Sabonis, but in the release, they mentioned they factor in
priors,
past transgressions.
Yep.
Nikola Jokic, he had something with Markieff Morris. What was that, last season or 2 seasons ago when they got into it, but nothing over the top. So that will probably help Jokic as well.
I'm watching the 76ers and the Celtics, and I'm not sure if either team is really good. I think the Celtics can play really good, but then down the stretch, I'm just never quite sure. James Harden, I'm never quite sure. Embiid had a tentative 34 points, if that's possible. But how do you kind of handicap that series between those two?
I know it's strange. And the amazing thing, too, about Boston, and I think they have the most talent top to bottom out of any team. I thought that was the case entering the playoffs, certainly now as well, now that Milwaukee's gone. But, Boston is 7-8 in their last 15 home playoff games. It's a little hard to believe. And they were in a similar situation last year when they went home for game 5, tied 2-2 in the second round with Milwaukee, ended up losing game 5, but then they had the great game 6 where Tatum went off. Then they won game 7. But I didn't understand Boston yesterday. So they're up 2. Jaylen Brown ends up doubling off of Harden. Today's NBA is now the MVP of the league has got an angle with Jason Tatum guarding him. He kicks it out to the three-point line. Harden is open, knocks down the shot. All right, so you messed up defensively. You're down 1. Why are they walking the ball up the court?
Yeah.
The idea now is to shoot with what? 5 or 6 seconds to go, 7 seconds to go, because if you miss and you don't get the rebound, now you can foul. You have 2 timeouts. You can extend the game. I get it. At the end of regulation, the game's tied. Marcus Smart takes the last shot. It's a wide open shot. No problem with that. They didn't even get a shot off in overtime, and they're only down 1 point with 2 timeouts. It made no sense the way that they played that.
But the odds to win the NBA title, according to DraftKings this morning, Celtics. Celtics are big favorites over the Lakers.
It's amazing, right? Really, for the first time, and I understand the Knicks are in a bad spot, but I mean, how often can you really look at all 8 teams in the second round? And if things were to break right, and for some of the teams like the Knicks and the Heat, things would really have to break right for them to win. It feels like you can make a case for just about any team right now winning it all. And it's amazing with the Lakers, and give Darvin Ham, the head coach, a lot of credit. Rob Pelinka, the moves that he'd made. They were a laughingstock at the start of the season. And now here they are on the verge, winning a home game of going up 3-1 in this series. Can you imagine if we end up with Lakers, Celtics in the NBA Finals? But I still think the Celtics are the best team. I still think they'll figure out a way to get this done.
And you know what's interesting is when teams play defense, we never talked about Golden State's defense. When they were winning those championships, they played great defense. They really did. And the Lakers played great defense, unbelievable defense. And I give a lot of credit to Darvin Ham because guys don't want to play defense. You're almost, I have to encourage you to play defense. I never have to encourage anybody to play offense. But, Vanderbilt seems to set the tone, and so does that head coach there. Can they continue to win with defense here in this series?
I think they can. If Anthony Davis stays healthy, and I understand his scoring is always up and down, but if you have Anthony Davis protecting the basket, and then you have a lot of inexperienced players, but LeBron James is like the middle linebacker on the team. He's standing there telling everyone what to do at all times. So despite the fact that a lot of guys are inexperienced in big games, having LeBron on the team is absolutely huge. But again, I think a lot of it will come down to how well Anthony Davis continues to play. What I also love about the Lakers, if you go back to that game that they played in Boston, remember when LeBron did get fouled by Jason Tatum and the referee didn't call it?
Yeah.
LeBron fell to his knees, and the big theme after the game was, we don't get any calls. We don't get any calls. They led the league in free throw shooting. And even in that game, which was a blowout, they took 20 more free throws than the Golden State Warriors. So they're really good at drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line, making shots. They seem to be in a pretty good position. But again, the Warriors were down 0-2 to Sacramento. They needed to go on the road and win a game 5, and then they won in game 7 on the road. So, and I guess it's 28 straight series where they've won at least one road playoff game. Tonight should be the night.
Frank Isola, the Net Studio host. You can see him on the Round the Horn. Pardon the interruption. Also, Sirius XM NBA Radio. LeBron talked about his son, Bronny, going to USC, and that he really wants to play at least one season with him. So you got this season, then you'll have next season, and then Bronny, I guess, will come out into the draft, and then he and LeBron will. How does that work? How do you think that they sync this up, that they play together?
I mean, we know that that's the father's dream, and his goal is to play with his son in the NBA. But I don't know, is that the son's goal right away, just to leave college after 1 year? He's going to school. Not many kids go to school with, I think it's a $6 million NIL deal that he has in total. I don't know. It's probably fun. Going to USC is probably a great time to begin with, much less being a star athlete, much less being a guy that's getting $6 million a year. So maybe Bronny's going to like the college life. Maybe he wants to stay 2 years, stay 3 years, which kind of pushes it down. Hey, he might not be making $6 million a year as an NBA player. He's certainly going to be making it as a college player. What if he wants to stay?
He's not staying for more than 1 year.
You never know.
No, this is so important to his dad.
Hang on a second. What if this year, and this has happened before, he wouldn't be the first highly touted high school player that struggles a little bit his first year in college? I hope that's not the case, but now the competition is going to be a little bit different. He's going to be playing in a really good conference. I'm sure because of his name, unfortunately for him, he's probably going to have a target on his back. So,
yeah, but it makes it easier then to sign with a team that your dad's on because then he won't get drafted.
100%. But if you're a GM of a team in the second round, wouldn't you maybe want to take him?
Yes, I would. Yes,
in the second round.
Yes,
because
I
you
would.
could get his father.
Yes, and he's not even the best player in his recruiting class at USC, but he has gotten better, which is what anybody wants to see. How much growth there, potential is there, and it seems like he made a big leap this past year.
Yeah.
But it seems like this is the last thing that LeBron wants. I'm sure he'd take another title in the process, but he wants to be able to play with his son.
Absolutely. And I thought it was really sweet when LeBron did say, he kept saying that USC is getting a really good kid. And if you talk to I've spoken to a lot of scouts that have been to his games, and they talk about Bronny James being a really good teammate, how he's very unselfish. I mean, LeBron is like that too. He's a very unselfish teammate. So that is good to hear, because when you're growing up, I'm sure for all these, kids of, famous players, it can't be easy. And it seemed like the kid has handled everything really, really well.
Yeah, he has. And you're able to stay home and go to school. Yeah.
But, and he can. So now he has the benefit of not only can his parents come to the game, he could still sit courtside at Laker games. It's a perfect scenario.
He's got it all. I brought this up last week, because this isn't really a rivalry between LeBron and Steph or Golden State and the Lakers. I mean, there's no real heated rivalry there, but this feels like it's a legacy rivalry with LeBron and Steph of if one gets another title. So if Steph gets up to 5, does that change the conversation of his place historically? Can he move past LeBron?
I don't believe so. I just think as an all around player, it's just a little bit different. And I also think the fact that Kevin Durant went there for a couple of years. It's funny, they were both born in Akron. They were both born in the same hospital.
Yeah.
So whoever wins the most should really be considered the real king of Akron. But LeBron just can't take that title.
I think that they aspire for a little bit bigger kingdom here than Akron. Name the maternity ward after.
Exactly. There you go.
One of the guys there. All right. Great to talk to you, Frank. Thanks for joining us as always, buddy. Frank Isola, Nets studio host, also Sirius XM NBA radio. You can see him on Around the Horn, and pardon the interruption.